Welcome back to Melodic Logic. In this episode, I'll be listening to and discussing Our Lady Peace's Not Enough from the 2002 album Gravity. Let's get started. Now, I have heard this song many times, and I've been listening to Our Lady Peace since 1997. That was their second album that was released in 1997. 1993, they released Navid, not my favorite album. But the 1997 Clumsy, that brought them into stardom and got them catapulted with the main song Superman's Dead and 4 a.m. I'll probably review those as well because they're great songs. They also had several albums released in between that and Gravity, but I picked Gravity, specifically Not Enough, because it's one of my favorite songs off this album. Innocent is another one. This album also starred the song Somewhere Out There, and that was really what was their number one single, and again, further catapulted their career. This, however, did take a change in their music style. They ended up going with Bob Rock as the producer. That's a whole nother story. I'll set up another video for it. But if you're familiar with Our Lady Peace, listening to their earlier albums musically is kind of different and compared to what we see from Gravity and kind of here on out. Spiritual Machines is very unique. Clumsy is very unique. Navid, very raw. Nonetheless, one of my favorite songs that I wanted to discuss is Not Enough. So let's get started. I love that. It almost sounds like a backwards record. We bring in from the right ear this hum, gorgeous electric guitar, perfectly tuned. Great bring in with the drums and the bass.
There's nothing you can say, nothing you can do, there's nothing in between. You know the truth, nothing left to face, there's nothing left to lose, nothing takes your place.
All right, before we start to the chorus, this is one of those songs that musically I really, really enjoy. Just the way that everything leads in and the way it's composed. It's great. Not only that, the lyrics to this song are wonderful. They start out with, there's nothing you can say, nothing you can do, there's nothing in between, you know the truth. Nothing left to face, there's nothing left to lose when they say. And that's kind of where we left off, so you'll see how this leads in. I love, with that, as I've mentioned in other songs, if you're a band putting music together, you take the time to add those little characteristics in the music because it makes such a difference. The way that we kind of swoop in as a background note, and then we have the electric guitar again perfectly tuned, and then we can hear the downstrokes and the picking in between, and in some cases, in some spots, we can hear a double pick. A down-up pick or up-down. I think this one's down-up. Yeah. Just those little nuances can help fold a song into something miraculous. It's just those little things that make a huge difference. All right, so where we left off for the most part, we're going to enter the chorus.
When they say strong, you're not that weak, it's not your fault. And when you climb up to your hill, up to your place, I hope you will.
So, as I'm trying to do, stop after the choruses, or in between the phrases, so not to interrupt right in the middle of a song. Um, so and we're not getting the full chorus yet. Another thing that I really like that bands do: give me a teaser, give me an idea of what really to expect as this song begins to explode. But so, we ended with "There's nothing left to lose" when they say, "You're not that strong, you're not that weak, it's not your fault. And when you climb up your hill, up to your place, I hope you're well." So we're giving. I already did Avril Lavigne's "Not Enough," and coincidentally, Our Lady Peace is a number one band actually in Canada, and Avril Lavigne is also a number one artist in Canada. Not coincidentally, specifically, Rain Maida, who is the lead singer and writer for Our Lady Peace, actually helped produce and write some of Avril Lavigne's songs. I digress. My point in all of this, though, is that lyrically he's really great. And if you've even listened to some of their previous music, especially from Clumsy and Spiritual Machines, there's a lot that goes in to Rain's lyrics, as well as the music. And I could talk about that forever, but maybe I'll have another video that does that. Specifically for this, though, we're saying that this is not enough. Kind of like with Avril Lavigne's song. She's recognized that what she's getting out of a relationship or in life or situation, it's not enough. They deserve more. This is kind of no different, but from a slightly different perspective, in the fact that it's almost like Rain is telling us it's okay. Now we're being spoken to in this regard, versus how somewhat of abstract it was with Avril Lavigne. So you're not weak. It's not your fault. And when you climb up your hill, up to your place, I hope you're well. That's such a pleasant thing, because maybe through the writing this, and not even the writing, let's say as you're listening to this for the first time, or if you do have it on repeat, you may be in a bad spot, in a bad place, in a bad thought. And having something like this, so melodic, be able to tell you that you can connect to, it's going to be okay. And I hope you're well as you continue. All right, so let's continue. All right, end of our chorus tease. We're coming back down. It just sounds so great. I'm sorry, I know I said I would stop, but listen, in the background, remember at the very beginning of the song, we kind of heard like a backwards letter? You can hear a backwards record. This doesn't do that from a record perspective, but it takes a guitar note chord, and it kind of does it in reverse and sweeps it in. You'll hear this wah, and you'll hear it throughout the song, but I wanted to point that out. You'll see. Did you hear that? Left ear?
There's nothing left to prove. There's nothing I won't do. There's nothing like the pain I feel for you. Nothing left to hide. Nothing left to fear. I am always here. When they say you're not that strong,
Such a great lead-in.
it's not your fault.
Punch twice.
When you climb up to your hill, up to your place, I hope you will.
All right, before we really kick in, I just want to go back real quick to that second verse that we have of the main rhythm. So, there's nothing left to prove. There's nothing I won't do. There's nothing like the pain I feel for you. Nothing left to hide. Nothing left to feel. I will always be here. When they say, again, we're going back to the chorus, you're not that strong, you're not that weak, it's not your fault. So again, we're being spoken to. There's nothing like the pain I feel for you. That's a phrase that we can relate to because, again, thinking of whatever situation you might be in, it's about somebody else understanding this pain. And that you could be speaking in this perspective, depending on how you take these words. There's nothing like the pain I feel for you. So if we're from the perspective of the listener being spoken to, the listener being spoken to, again, I've got this person who's trying to really help me move on or be better or feel better. And it could be reversed if you happen to be the person speaking to someone. You're understanding what they're going through. There's nothing left to hide. All right. Let's go back. We'll pick up from the second chorus, right at the end. All right, so just a couple seconds behind that. Now we're going to change tempo. Fantastic lead-in. Again, some bands would not take the time to create this particular hook for a song, but it's so powerful and moving it along. You know, it does have a great hook when it comes to the chord progression in the chorus. So some bands might have been like, this is perfectly fine. But no, they're doubling down, and we double down in the beat and in the tone. So what you want, what you lost, what you have, what is gone is over. What you got, what you love, what you need, what you have is real. It's not enough. It's not enough. It's not enough. It's not enough. I'm sorry. It's not enough. It's not enough. So the words just are so impressive. What you want, what you lost, what you have, what is gone is over. So if this can really resonate when you're having a really bad day or bad week or whatever it might be, a bad moment. And we finally have somebody who's been trying to tell us, you know, life, everything is going to be fine. Things are moving along great. You're going to do good. When you get to that hill, when you overcome what this particular passage is in your life, I hope you're well. And I'm going to help you with that. And to reiterate that, we're going to double down with what you want, what you lost, what you had, what is gone is over. So we're essentially stating all of this stuff that you are going through, now that you're at the top of this hill and that you're doing well, it's all over. You don't have to worry about any of that stuff anymore. That's my take on it. It's just great. What you've got, what you love, what you need, what you have is real. So the feeling that you've got now, you're at the top of this hill. You're doing great. You've overcome all of these things. All the bad things are now gone. What you have, this love and everything that you've got is real. Embrace it. Enjoy it. Pay attention to it. Don't just let this moment pass you by. I just love the way that hits. All the music comes down, doubling up on the precision for the drums and the guitar chunking in. And then we just come out to the end. So we'll start a solo here. I'm just going to end on What You Need. The guitar is perfect. Or before, because they're going back to the lyrics. When they say you're not that strong, you're not that weak, it's not your fault. And when you climb up your hill, up to your place, I hope you're well. Being the name of the song is not enough. We've reiterated several times through the vocals, it's not enough. Meaning, what you're experiencing, how your life may have been up until this point, it has not been enough. You need to be able to progress and be better and look past all this darkness and all of these things that may have come to you over this time. So we're constantly getting this reassurance. It's not enough. It's not enough. And then the fact that we're leading in, okay, so when they say you're not that strong, you're actually not that weak. And it's not your fault. It's not your fault for whatever situation or predicament you might be in. Now, granted, if it is directly your fault, that's your own situation. But if you're trying to internalize and become a better person by listening to music and the words and the lyrics, you really have to understand that we have to move past some of these feelings that we might be stuck in and moments or things that we harp on. Somebody at work or a good friend of yours may have said something, one word or a single line that's just constantly eating and grating at you and your nerves because you keep repeating it. Well, let these things go. Because they might say that you're not that strong, but you're also not weak. And all of this isn't your fault. Move past it. Realize you're a better person than what others might think and what others might say. That's my take on this. I think that's so great. That's why I think this is such a wonderfully motivational song. And again, you've got Rain's voice is perfect for Our Lady Peace. Again, along with the music and the solo, and I didn't speak about that, but I just the notes that were used in the solo and how it was brought in, it sounds like somebody's like at the end of crying, meaning they're at the end of finally releasing all this emotion and suppressed feelings that they've had. And to me, it just feels like it just walks me along that path to letting go. I love it. So we're almost at the end. Quick little solo. Love that. The way that solo, he's got, that's the end. The way that he has the distortion and the gain on it, it gives it such a good punch. It's a little gritty, but it's like zit, zit when it comes in. And it's, again, a band that has taken the time to really figure out what those key notes are that they need to hit can make such a difference in a song. If you'd have laid, and Our Lady Peace isn't really known for lead guitar solos. Their songs have them, but the several lead guitars that they've had have never been keen on creating these incredible solos. That's not to say what they do isn't incredible. I'm just saying, again, we compare it to David Gilmour, Eric Clapton, Stevie Ray Vaughan, Kenny Wayne Shepherd, Van Halen. There are bands that have great lead guitarists, and they don't pretend to be that. But what they do create is very key to the elements of the song. And I find it great. This is another song, most of my songs, like I say, go and listen to from the beginning to the end because it is a great ride and it's such a great song. And there's so many songs off this album that I like. I'll probably come back and revisit them. OLP has, Our Lady Peace, has so many albums, and each album is so different in music. I mean, overall, from a bass point perspective, it is still alternative rock. When you listen to Clumsy and Spiritual Machine, they're going to be not vastly, but they're going to be different than what we have in Gravity. And then after Gravity, we take a look at Healthy and Paranoid Times and Burn, and there's a lot. And they have gone through different producers on purpose. And actually, when an interview with Rain, when they were discussing this particular album, they said their point was to go in a different direction. Some of their fans felt like they sold out. But you've got to think, the music that they produced in the 90s, while still relevant today, during those early 2000s really wasn't where the music industry was going. And not that OLP was selling out. They still stuck to their tone for the most part, but they did make some changes. And adding a different producer was just vastly impressive. Bob Rock was his name, and he's helped them along from a producing perspective to give them a little bit of a change, a little bit of a turn in tone. But this whole album is great. Actually, most of their songs on all their albums are great. If I haven't said it in the past, I like bands that have the capability to create multiple songs, if not an entire album, that's worthy of listening to. It's easy to pick and choose bands that have one-hit wonders, or out of a 10 or 12 track lineup, they've only got one or two good songs. That's not something I can appreciate, because I feel like, and this partly is due to the music industry, but I feel like they're really only creating one-hit songs so that they can be on the radio, so they can start a tour, so that they can make money, not so that they can express and share their art. Our Lady Peace is one of those bands that has the capability to have an entire album that's good. Lifehouse, that I've recently done, same thing. A lot of their albums, there's a few songs on some albums that I don't like, but the point is the majority of the songs are. I digress. I should just do another video just about discussing bands and albums and their overall capability, but that'll be for another one. What did you think? Had you heard of Our Lady Peace? You've probably heard Superman's Dead. Like I said, that came out in the late 90s, 97. And great grand success. I think that song went ultra platinum, if I'm right, in any case. Yeah, so have you listened to Our Lady Peace? Is it your style of music? The reason I've talked about the different album types is because if you haven't, and you're wanting to go back and listen to Our Lady Peace, for a first-time perspective, I would start with Gravity. I wouldn't go and listen to Clumsy. Happiness is a Fish That You Can't Catch. That's another great album. Most of the songs on that are great. But again, if you're trying to dip your toe into OLP, I would probably start with Gravity and then determine, do you want something that's a little more rough and artistic and a little bit more, not creative, but a little bit more complex musically? Then I would say, take a look at Happiness Is Not a Fish, or Spiritual Machines, or Clumsy. But if you like this and you want something that's a little more, I would say, cleanly put together, for the lack of better words, then Gravity, and then Burn, Healthy and Paranoid Times. So there's quite a lot of options, but Gravity was really that separating part. And that was, like I said, done on purpose. The previous songs from the prior albums, I will be discussing some of those for the mere fact that I did talk about how they are precise on some of the notes they hit. They specifically on Gravity went more simplistic in their creativity on the music side. So we'll take a look at some of the others at another time and really dig into and point out some of those idiosyncrasies that we find in some of their earlier albums. Thank you for listening. I hope that you enjoyed it. Hope you enjoyed the song. If you did, let me know. What's your favorite Our Lady Peace song? Actually, start with your favorite album, then your favorite song from that album. Because, again, since they're so different, I'm extremely curious to see what everyone's thoughts are. What did you think of my take? Did you like it? At any rate, I appreciate your time. Thanking you so much for listening to Melodic Logic. Take care.